At this moment, my client hereby officially announces his intention to conquer John Cena and take the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam.
Well, surprise, surprise, all of the rumors and the poster spoilers turned out to be true. It will, in fact, be John Cena versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE title in the main event of SummerSlam. Battleground and Raw are both in the books. I'm here just to talk about both of them as a whole. I'll be doing a lot of flip-flopping back and forth, I'm sure, but of course we got to talk about the main event of Battleground first and the circumstances that are leading up to what we now know is the main event of SummerSlam. There was a lot of debating going on a day or two before Battleground because the news had broke that John Cena was not going to be on the Raw after Battleground, and he was also not going to be on at least one or two other Raws as well leading up to SummerSlam because he was going to be off promoting some fucking movie, and that led to a lot of speculation from the fans that he was indeed going to be dropping the title at Battleground because, you know, if he was going to be missing a couple of Raws leading up to SummerSlam, that really got the rumors going that he was dropping the belt. I came out on Facebook and Twitter and anywhere I could, maintaining that I was pretty sure the WWE was going to stay the course here with John Cena. I don't understand why anybody would be pissed off that John Cena retained the title, even the Cena haters. This is what you want. What other guy would you have wanted to win in that situation? Do you really think Roman Reigns is ready? Are you that ingrained in the Cena hate that you just want to see anybody else other than Cena, even if it makes no sense? We don't need a title change every fucking month here. If you ask me, for a lot of us who say the WWE can't do any long-term booking, they're proving us wrong in this situation. This is actually something that I think was in place all along ever since WrestleMania 30. When Daniel Bryan got injured, they just put John Cena in his place and they ran in the same direction. If Daniel Bryan wouldn't have gotten injured, what I see happening was him winning the belt at WrestleMania, him surviving Kane one or two pay-per-views in a row, then have him survive another pay-per-view, maybe a fatal four-way, just like John Cena went through with Kane and Randy Orton and John Cena or Roman Reigns or a combination thereof. Triple H and Stephanie all this time are hell-bent on taking the title off of Daniel Bryan. They keep failing one after another. Rollins gets the briefcase. They have a plan A. They have a plan B. And when things don't go their way, Paul Heyman comes out and says, hey, if you want a foolproof, sure thing, plan C, I'm the guy you need to talk to. I actually think this angle would probably have been booked almost the exact same way had Daniel Bryan not gotten injured. They're just replacing him with Cena. So getting pissed off that John Cena survived another pay-per-view is retarded because why would you want to put the title on Roman Reigns in a fatal four-way match at a, pretty much throwaway pay-per-view? That's not the moment. You need a one-on-one match. You need some sort of a bigger build than that than just giving it to him out of the blue. That's the same argument I made at Money in the Bank last month. If they were going to take the title off of John Cena at Battleground, then they wouldn't have given him the title at Money in the Bank to begin with. I think everything that John Cena is doing right now was initially reserved for Daniel Bryan, so you can't hate on John Cena in this situation. He's only in this mess because of Daniel Bryan's injury. I actually think they would go with a Brock Lesnar-Daniel Bryan match at SummerSlam instead of Brock and Cena. Here's why. Because they were going to go with Daniel Bryan. They were going to do it. They gave him the big moment at WrestleMania 30. That means they're going with the guy. So I think Brock and Daniel Bryan was probably the original plan here. But this is something, ironically, that falls into the WWE's lap, and you can see why they chose to put the belt on Cena once Daniel Bryan got injured. Because this gives them the opportunity to do the huge mega match of Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, and this time, if Brock Lesnar was planned to defeat Daniel Bryan for the title at SummerSlam, he can just defeat John Cena instead and avenge the loss that he suffered to him at Extreme Rules in 2012. This was a pretty good way to go, and that's why I said all along at Battleground that I hated the main event, because we know the outcome. There was no way you were going to convince me that anybody else had a chance of winning the title that night. John Cena was going to retain. He needs to be champion going into SummerSlam. A Brock Lesnar John Cena match without the title, I don't think would be as good. Brock Lesnar teased at the beginning of the year that he wants the title, and now they're giving him the title shot. And the bigger story here is how exactly they're going to book this, because if Brock Lesnar was a regular roster member, somebody without a limited schedule and all the bullshit they have to put up with Brock Lesnar, you would think that this SummerSlam match is only the first in what should be a 2 or 3 long pay-per-view program. There will definitely be a rematch at Night of Champions. There will definitely be a rematch at the pay-per-view after that. But with Brock Lesnar and his schedule, you don't know what the hell they've worked out with this guy. So it's going to be really interesting to see if, in fact, Brock Lesnar is on TV more regularly now. I'll tell you what, if John Cena is going to be missing another Raw as well, I would like to see them book this a little bit old school. You know, why do they have to interact so much? They don't need to see each other every week. I say one Raw. In between now and SummerSlam, you have the two of them in the ring. Maybe the final Raw before SummerSlam or something like that. Otherwise, you can just do John Cena and Paul Heyman doing all the talking. Brock can be there when Cena is off from Raw. Cena can be there when Brock is off from Raw. And you can build it without the two guys having any physicality at all, except maybe the final week leading up to the pay-per-view. Who knows? So it'll be interesting to see exactly how they book this. For those of you that are going to start freaking out right away and thinking that John Cena is going to beat Brock Lesnar, we're just going to fucking have to wait and see, aren't we? So just tone it down a notch with your fucking opinions. I am of the belief that John Cena will be losing the title to Brock Lesnar. It makes the most sense. For the exact same reasons that I said putting the title on John Cena at Money in the Bank makes the most sense, the same reason applies here for putting the title on Brock Lesnar. It's what they need to do. He ended the Undertaker's streak. They are building him huge. The bigger Brock Lesnar gets and the better of a 2014 he has, the bigger draw he will be come WrestleMania 31 time, and the WWE will have an endless set of options for what they can do with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So I think he has to win this match. How his contract is going to work out, what he's worked out with the WWE to appear, I don't know. If you put the belt on him, does he drop it at Night of Champions? You know, if they do that, you know, I kind of don't want Brock to lose it all until WrestleMania or after that. So in order for him to lose the belt a month later, you know, you have to wonder what that does for Brock Lesnar. Maybe they just want to give him a short title reign. I don't know. But a guy as dominant as Brock Lesnar, I think he needs to hold the title for a little bit more than a month. Now, as far as how they got to this point, Triple H opened Raw by saying he's going to decide and announce who John Cena's SummerSlam opponent will be. And then, of course, everybody has to make an appearance. Randy Orton, Kane, Roman Reigns, they all have to plead their case. Triple H says, I have to think about it, make my decision. It's your job in the meantime to impress me. And this was obvious. This was just a stall tactic to get to the main event where they can announce Brock at the end of the show. And I actually like how the WWE didn't swerve us too much. You know, we've all heard the rumors. We've seen the leaked pay-per-view posters, the leaked, you know, promo vignettes that they've done for SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar and John Cena. WWE didn't even try to hide it. They didn't try to draw it out. All they did was just announce Brock as the champion with Paul Heyman coming out at the end. But Triple H puts Orton and Kane and Reigns in a triple threat match. He talks to Seth Rollins in the backstage area saying, hey, I can't give you the title shot at SummerSlam because, you know, Dean Ambrose is hell-bent on stopping you, and plus you've already got the briefcase. You've got your opportunity anytime you want it. Just wait, bide your time, and take advantage of that. Even Cesaro approaches him. Now, as far as Cesaro goes, I fucking knew it. They just basically dropped the whole Paul Heyman thing. You know, other than Brock Lesnar, it's really hard to take any Paul Heyman guy seriously. The only thing they're doing is giving Paul Heyman a random roster member to do something with while Brock Lesnar is sitting on his ass at home. I mean, I wish they would have at least kept Cesaro with Paul Heyman long enough for him to turn babyface, maybe have Brock kick his ass, or there's be some sort of a conflict between those two guys, and maybe on Raw one week leading up to SummerSlam, you can use Cesaro to help get Brock Lesnar over for the match. Maybe Brock just absolutely annihilates fucking Cesaro, turning him babyface, and maybe, you know, these guys can have a match in the future. But no, they just flat out drop the whole thing. Cesaro comes in to Triple H's office on Raw and says, I'm no longer a Paul Heyman guy, which basically means Brock's back and the WWE doesn't have room for me. So finally, after all of this, we get to the main event of Raw, and Triple H is about to announce who's going to face John Cena. Then Randy Orton comes out there. Then Roman Reigns comes out there. They start brawling into the back, and that's when Paul Heyman comes out and says, Triple H, the way it looks to me is that you have no choice. All of your shit is falling apart. I am here to offer you Plan C, and that's, of course, Brock Lesnar comes out, gets in the ring, shakes hands with Triple H, and Triple H says, all right, fine, there you go. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the title. It's official. So all in all, predictable, but all in all, pretty good. This is the main event I wanted to see. This is the direction I wanted them to go for SummerSlam. I'm glad they did. It's going to be great, and I'm glad they didn't divert from that plan at all. Switching back to Battleground, I gotta say it was a good show. I gave this pay-per-view a lot of shit because, like I said, the main event was fucking meaningless. We knew who was gonna win that thing. This was a throwaway pay-per-view, and I just wish we could have skipped it. But a lot of times that I say that when WWE has these seemingly meaningless, stupid, pointless fucking pay-per-views, a lot of the talent really comes through. And a lot of the wrestlers really did come through at Battleground, and so did the crowd. I actually thought the pay-per-view was a solid show. I thought the Usos and Rowan and Harper had a great match to open the show. I mean, I thought they were going to burn the crowd out. That match was so good. 2 out of 3 falls. I loved almost everything about it. I loved the spots. I loved the physicality. I loved the finish. And it was just a great overall match. And the crowd was really, really into it. It was fantastic. I loved the story they told with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. I thought it was really cool, and a lot of the fans apparently did too, the way they never even had the match. The match never happened. It got thrown out because Ambrose attacked Rollins early on in the backstage area during an interview, and Triple H threw him out of the building, and Ambrose keeps finding his way back in. Rollins even went out to the ring to accept the victory by forfeit, but Ambrose clearly does not give a fuck. He even got himself intentionally disqualified on Raw because he does not give a fuck. He's absolutely crazy. I love Dean Ambrose. He's fucking badass. He is downright obsessed with killing Seth Rollins. He's getting back into the building, beating the WWE security. This guy should try fucking robbing banks or something like that. He's hiding in the trunk of cars, jumping out and attacking Seth Rollins. He is hell-bent on getting his hands on Seth Rollins, and there is no way, as long as Dean Ambrose is alive, that Seth Rollins is going to be able to cash in that briefcase. I thought they told a really good story at Battleground, stretching out, the segments between Rollins and Ambrose, throughout the show, and showing them in different environments and different situations fighting with each other. I thought it was great, and I thought it was better than an actual match, because with all the bad blood between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, and considering how crazy Dean is acting, you have to wonder how these guys can even have a match with rules anyway. Ambrose clearly does not care about winning and losing, so a match wouldn't make sense, and this, I'm sure, will lead to some sort of a gimmick match at SummerSlam where, they're either in a cage or a cell, or there's no rules, no holds barred. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do, but it's definitely going to be something like that. My predictions weren't that great for this pay-per-view, but one match I actually got right was Chris Jericho and Bray Wyatt. Really tough night for the Wyatt family. I actually thought the Wyatts were going to win the tag team title, and I thought there was a good chance that Bray Wyatt would beat Chris Jericho. But no, Chris Jericho actually beat him clean. Now, I'm not completely surprised by that. That's the way you have to do it. Jericho's not going to come back for 3 months to job in every single match, and you have to give these guys a reason to wrestle at the next pay-per-view. I'm sure, just like with Rollins and Ambrose, there will be some sort of a gimmick match between these two at SummerSlam, and I'm sure Bray Wyatt will come out on top, and then maybe they'll have one final blow-off after that, maybe on Raw or the next pay-per-view, although if it's Night of Champions, a belt would need to be on the line, so I don't see that happening, and then Bray Wyatt can finally win his feud with Jericho, and I would actually think that a Bray Wyatt face turn is in the future. We've been hearing the rumblings of that, in the past couple of months. I'm just wondering where he's going from here. He's still every bit as good as his character as he always is, but, I think a change might be due for Bray Wyatt, and I think maybe, just like the Shield did, Bray Wyatt could go babyface. Also, another thing I liked about Battleground was the Rusev-Jack Swagger match. I mentioned in my predictions video that I would like to see them do something that will allow them to have a rematch, and they did. And Rusev got the victory, but yet he didn't squash Jack Swagger at the same time, and it allows the feud to continue, because I think the feud has been great stuff. Now, in the meantime, during all of this, there has been an unspeakable tragedy. Another Malaysia Airlines plane has gone down. This one was actually shot down over the Ukraine. There's all sorts of fucking turmoil and nonsense going on over there, and I mentioned right away when this happened that I thought the WWE was going to have to at least tone down the Rusev stuff a little bit. I don't think they have to completely kill the gimmick. I don't think they have to do what they did with Muhammad Hassan. I don't think they need to do that to Rusev. I just think they need to cut out a little bit of the Vladimir Putin references and basically just not tie a character to what's going on over there, because I don't think that does Rusev any favors in the long run, and it's just publicity that I think the WWE doesn't need. I mean, back in the day, they would salivate at this opportunity because they were so desperate for publicity, but the WWE doesn't need it, and they don't need this negative nonsense. And, some people interpreted Lana's promo at the pay-per-view as making reference to the airplane that was shot down. I think she said something about, blaming them for other people's problems or something like that. I don't know if it was necessarily a reference, but it was just still a line that the WWE did not need to tread. Even if they're incredibly subtle about it, just knock it the fuck off. You can still have this guy being the anti-America guy, you can still have him waving his flag, and you can still have his music, and you can still have Lana cutting heel promos on the USA, but you just need to not make people think this is about that fucking airplane, because it's just such a stupid fucking idea. You don't have to kill Rusev, just chill out with the fucking references, and I actually think they did that on Raw, because as you saw on Raw, Rusev squashed the Great Khali, and Lana tried to cut a promo, but she really never got anything out, and they really didn't say anything at all this week. So I just think if they turn the volume down just a little bit on Rusev, then everything will be fine, but they need to fucking watch what they're doing. And of course, the final thing I'll mention about Battleground was the Intercontinental Title Battle Royal, and the fucking Miz won the IC title. You know, as soon as he got thrown out of the ring and was on the floor, I was like, oh fuck, they're gonna run that stupid old tired angle where he's out there, everybody forgets all about him, he comes in and tosses out the winner. You kind of saw it coming a mile away. I was hoping for, you know, Bo Dallas, I was hoping for a Cesaro, I was really hoping for a Dolph Ziggler, and we may still get that. I haven't completely lost hope on him yet. He did defeat The Miz in a non-title match on Raw, which makes me think they could be building these two guys to a title match at SummerSlam. I sure hope so. But back to the Battle Royal, you know, The Miz won at the end. I was really hoping for somebody else, and I even thought that Sheamus might have been a sleeper pick in that, because he was down there to the very end, and if he were to win both titles and hold them both, I started thinking maybe they could go back to that old rumored story of them unifying the IC and US titles. But after I thought about it more, I'm actually fine with the titles staying separated, but when Sheamus made it to the end like that, I actually thought he might win. And it's so funny how Kofi seems to be the MacGyver of Battle Royals. You know, he comes up with all these creative ways to avoid elimination in Royal Rumbles and Battle Royals, but yet he can't seem to win one. It seems like sooner or later they could have Kofi win one of these things since he's so creative, but we'll talk about Kofi a little bit more in a minute. But The Miz is your new IC champ. Nothing you can do about it now. He is very easy to hate. He's great at being a douchebag, because I truly think that he is one. And he does a decent enough job as a heel. I just hate that the Intercontinental title is on him. I just wish that Intercontinental title was treated more as the wrestler's title like it used to be back in the day. And hopefully the WWE, hey, idiots at the WWE, if anybody is listening to me, please give us something normal with this IC title at SummerSlam. How about just a one-on-one match between Dolph Ziggler and The Miz for the Intercontinental title, and give Dolph Ziggler the fucking belt. Don't do a fucking four-way or a three-way or a scramble match or a gauntlet match or anything silly for the Intercontinental title. Do it old school, one-on-one. Switching back to Raw now, the other big angle that took place, other than Brock Lesnar coming back to challenge John Cena at SummerSlam, was Brie Bella was in the front row for Raw this week, and they're running the angle on TV where Stephanie is still pissed about getting the shit slapped out of her at Payback by Brie and her quitting and all of that. And she's been taking out her anger on Nikki every week on Raw, putting her in handicap matches and basically sending her out there every week to get her ass kicked. Well, Stephanie notices Brie in the front row, and she comes out and confronts her and cuts a great heelish promo on her. I mean, Stephanie is such a good bitch. I love her character. I think Stephanie actually is the best heel in the company right now. I mean, seriously, she's fucking great, and Brie isn't all that half bad on the mic either. I thought the two of them had a really good exchange. Stephanie actually slaps Brie. She tries to jump over the barricade and get at Stephanie. They might be building for a SummerSlam match here, and then later on in the show, Brie actually has Stephanie arrested for assault. The cops come out just like they did to Vince McMahon when he hit Stone Cold or something and he had him arrested, back during the Attitude Era. The cops arrest Stephanie. She's embarrassed. She's humiliated. She's crying. She's freaking out. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. It was great shit. As good as she is at being a bitch, she's also just as good at being a little crybaby. Triple H, of course, is following her to the back. He's threatening the officers' jobs. Think about it. Think about what you're doing. I'm going to have your ass. I'm going to have your job. They put Stephanie in the car. They close the door. She's looking through the glass at Triple H. I love you. I love you. Triple H is like, I'll be right behind you. I'm right behind you, honey. And the cops take off. But Triple H has an announcement to make. So they do this really really funny fucking backstage thing where he's like, well, come to think of it, she's got to be processed, right? You know, and they got to go through all this paperwork and bullshit. It's not like she's going to be ready right away. So he actually stalls and stays behind on Raw to make his big announcement instead of going to the police station to save his wife. So this will obviously lead to some dissension in the ranks and the authority, I'm sure, you know, in the upcoming weeks on Raw. And I'm guessing they're going to do some sort of an angle at SummerSlam where Stephanie McMahon faces Brie Bella, and maybe if Brie wins, she gets her job back, something like that. I even mentioned that, you know, I thought maybe Nikki Bella could turn heel. You know, Stephanie has been hammering it into her head every week that her sister abandoned her, and every week that she's getting her ass kicked, she has her sister to blame for that. You have to wonder if maybe some of that doesn't eventually penetrate Nikki Bella, and maybe she helps Stephanie win at SummerSlam, keeping Brie, you know, on the shelf even longer. I mean, if Daniel Bryan is still hurt and he's nowhere near to coming back, you know, maybe they want to keep her at home with him. And so maybe they just bring her back to do one program since she is a paid talent and they are, you know, paying her every week. They might as well use her here or there. Maybe she comes in to work SummerSlam, loses, you know, and then goes back home for a little while before reemerging, you know, with Daniel Bryan a few months later. Who knows? I would think that the way the storyline has been going, that Brie Bella, you know, does in fact wind up winning this match, getting her job back, or coming back into the company somehow. This is all assuming, of course, they actually do go with the SummerSlam match, Brie Bella versus Stephanie McMahon. I wouldn't totally hate that. I mean, I'm not a fan of Divas Wrestling as it is, but as good a heel as Stephanie is, and it's very rare to see her in the ring. I'm not saying we're going to have a 5-star athletic contest or anything like that, but I think Stephanie and Brie could put on a good story, you know, at SummerSlam, and, you know, if they go with the match, fine. As far as what else they did on Raw, you know, as expected, they did rib the Miami fans. You know, I thought they could have been a little bit more creative with it. All they did was bring out Damian Sandow in a LeBron James Miami jersey, and they had Miami crossed off and replaced it with Cleveland, and then he said something about LeBron James leaving or whatever, and then he had a match with Bo Dallas. I actually think Bo Dallas would have been a funnier guy to cut a promo on the crowd. If you ask me, you had two heels wrestling each other. This made no sense. I don't even think the crowd knew who the fuck they were supposed to cheer for. You know, I guess they're trying to get Bo Dallas over. You know, they want fans to laugh at him and everything like that, but I don't think he's really a full-fledged babyface. He's kind of like a delusional heel, the kind of heels I like. You know, they're a little bit silly, and they're a nice breath of fresh air. I've always compared Bo Dallas's attitude to the delusion of an Owen Hart or a Kurt Angle. I actually really like his character and what they're doing, and I think if Bo Dallas came out and did something LeBron James related, it would have been much more funny. Paige and AJ finally had their falling out. As expected, Paige did turn full-blown heel. They had the match at Battleground. AJ did retain the Divas title as expected. They had a tag team match together on Raw, and of course, finally at the end of the match, all the bullshit two-faced crap that Paige has been pulling finally comes to a head. She turns on AJ, turns full-blown heel, attacks AJ, beats the crap out of her, and I guess, you know, these two might have another match as well. So the feud is not over there either, and I'm excited to see what Paige can do as a heel. I mean, Divas Wrestling is a yawn fest to me anyway, but I like Paige, and I really like AJ, and, you know, it'll be interesting to see. I think Paige will make a good heel, probably a better heel than a babyface, because she has that dark look, that more gothic look to her, you know, so I think she's more suited for a heel, and I hope she does well. And also, of course, I know everybody wants me to comment on Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston and Big E Langston and what went on Raw and the rumors that this could be the new nation. Now, I don't want to automatically paint them with that brush just because it happens to be three black guys, but yes, it actually looks like this could be an idea taken from the nation. I don't know if they are going to actually call themselves the new nation. I think if they did, it would be pretty cool. I would love to see some sort of a backstage segment where, you know, there's a locker room door, the camera's on a locker room door that's closed. The door opens, out walks Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E, and they just leave the room. A couple of minutes later, Ron Simmons walks up to the doorway, and he just stares at the three of them as they're walking away and says very quietly the only word his character really says these days, and that's, damn. Very quietly, almost as if he's intrigued. You know, maybe the three of those guys, you know, approached Ron Simmons for advice, or maybe they approached him for help or something like that. I would like to see some sort of a little throwback to the nation if, in fact, that is where they're going. And if they are going in that direction, you have to think Mark Henry is still on the fucking roster. He was an original Nation member, or one of the original ones. The original was Farouk and Crush and Savio Vega and PG-13 and all that shit. But when they reformed the group later on with Mark Henry Brie and Kama and The Rock. You know, Mark Henry was one of those guys, so you can definitely put Mark Henry in this thing, and I think they could go a long way with it. The problem is, this is something that I think in today's day and age, the WWE will probably wind up fucking ruining. I think they should let Xavier Woods do his thing. I think he looks great. He's a great character. He has a little bit of Farouk and Clarence Mason mixed into one. He's wearing the big white suit, the afro, the glasses. He looks great. You know, I like his early gimmicks so far. He's out there trying to, what appears to be, recruit these guys or give them a pep talk, you know, and try to get everybody to join forces. And I hope they go in this direction. I think this could be great. I have no problem with it at all. I don't think the WWE is going to try to do too much racism with this. You know, back in the day, they tried a little bit of that. You know, I remember when DX broke into, you know, the Nation's locker room and spray painted like racial slurs on the wall. I don't think the WWE is going to go in that direction. You know, yes, it's going to be a group of all black guys. Yes, it might be a throwback to the Nation, but I don't think they're going to try to touch those racial nerves in people. I hope that's not what this group is all about. I hope this is a group of, you know, driven, you know, yet hungry, maybe frustrated talent that's banding together, and, you know, they're going to be the next big faction. Factions are in. The Shield and the Wyatt family has been very successful. So, you know, if you put three guys together, you know, that are main guys on the roster but still not doing anything, you know, this is a great way to utilize them. It's something new, it's something different, and it's a throwback to the past at the same time. So I'm all for the potential new nation forming here in 2014, for sure. And of course, we can't forget about Flo Rida's wonderful performance on Raw. What the fuck, WWE? I mean, I know you have to have these celebrities on here from time to time, but it's such a colossal waste of time, TV time, and money. It just drives me fucking crazy. You hear stories of legends of backstage guys like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat being released, yet you're spending money on stupid shit like Flo Rida. Now, I'm also hearing that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat may not have been released, so we really don't know, but the bottom line is, behind the scenes, WWE is going through a shit ton of budget cuts right now, and a lot of people are losing their jobs. I don't understand how they can try to save so much money in one area and then spend so ridiculously in another. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, Flo Rida brought nothing to the show. I guess he's just a Miami guy. He was there in 2012 for The Rock, you know, WrestleMania 28 in the same city, you know, so they brought him back because he's done some work with them before. I'm sure that he's a nice guy, but that music is garbage, and I would never fucking listen to that shit anyway, and to me, it was just a reason to change the channel. But Raws are never going to be perfect. If I sat here and listed every stupid moment that a Raw guest host did, I'd be sitting here for 3 fucking days. All in all, I'm excited that we finally got those fucking Raws and the Battleground pay-per-view out of the way, and now we can focus on SummerSlam. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think John Cena and Brock Lesnar is going to deliver. I think that will be a good match. I think it will be a lot of drama, and if Brock Lesnar does win, all of you Cena haters are going to be very, very happy. And those 2 videos I did before Money in the Bank and after Money in the Bank, defending John Cena, defending the decision to put the titles on him, you're going to finally understand what I was talking about once you watch SummerSlam. You just got to be patient. So, that is it for this week. I am out of here. That SummerSlam video that I have been promising, it is still in the works. I actually have to say I'm probably still a week away from it. It's actually pretty long. And it's been a lot of fun doing it, just going through some of my SummerSlam memories and putting them on audio, you know. So, I'm still working on that. It will be up very soon. And you'll have a good 2 or 3 weeks before SummerSlam, you know, to have plenty of time to watch that video. So keep an eye out for that in the near future. Leave me your SummerSlam thoughts and ideas and what you thought of Battleground and all of that below. You probably will not hear from me again until after Raw next week, unless I'm miraculously able to get my SummerSlam commentary up before then, which I might. In that case, you know, keep an eye out on the channel this weekend. Otherwise, I will talk to you in about a week or so. Until then, peace.